There was a time when silence wasn't empty. It was full of waiting. A time when a single train whistle at night could make your heart skip, wondering if it carried someone you loved back home. This wasn't long ago. It was the 1940s, a decade shaped by war, sacrifice, and a kind of quiet strength we've almost forgotten. And the craziest part, most of it happened without a single screen, notification, or even a working radio in every home. Back then, every goodbye started the same way, with brown leather suitcases tied shut with string. You'd help carry them to the station, dodging pigeons, clinging to extra seconds. Hugs were quick, words were few, and then they'd vanish behind glass. Brothers, cousins, uncles, off to wherever the army sent them. No texts, no video calls. Just a wave, and then silence. Some houses had blue stars in the window, others had gold. You didn't need to ask what that meant. You just walked quieter past those homes. And when sugar ran low, moms turned into magicians. Cakes made with applesauce or mashed potatoes showed up at birthdays. You'd chew slowly, nod like it was normal, and pretend it tasted like the real thing. But sometimes it did taste good, because it wasn't just cake. It was love baked into every bite. And that's the thing. People didn't just survive rationing, they adapted with pride. Bacon grease wasn't thrown out. It went into a tin on the stove. Why? Because the government needed it for explosives. So you've scraped every drop, knowing your breakfast was helping win a war. Ladies didn't dress up to impress. They dressed up because it was respect. Hats pinned just right, gloves white as snow, lipstick fresh, even to pick up milk and eggs. The corner grocer tipped his cap. Going to Sears wasn't a chore. It was an event. You dressed up, grabbed the catalog, and maybe got a malt afterward. And if you made it to the escalator, you were fancy. Gas was 15 cents a gallon, but you couldn't buy it without a stamp. Dad would grip the wheel, mutter about saving fuel, but Sunday drives still happened. No GPS, no music. Just the hum of tires and the world moving past your window. Evenings meant gathering around the radio. The glow of the dial lit up faces as FDR's voice filled the room. Calm, steady, strong. You didn't always understand the words, but you felt them. And when the newsreel said Germany had surrendered, kids heard the shouts before they saw the paper. Newsboys ran down sidewalks yelling, "Germany surrenders!" Strangers hugged. Horns honked. The whole town breathed out at once. But peace didn't come easy, because for years, air raid drills were part of school. You'd duck under desks, not knowing if it was practice or real. Blackout curtains stayed drawn, just in case. Out back, victory gardens stretched across backyards. Tomatoes, peas, marigolds. Every bite meant one less ration coupon. Weeds were pulled with patriotic pride. And inside, moms knitted socks and scarves for soldiers, needles clicking like a heartbeat. Kids helped roll yarn, knowing each stitch was a little warmth sent overseas. Meanwhile, boys built crystal radios from scavenged parts, tuning into static like it was a message from the future. Girls clipped headlines into scrapbooks. Not hobbies, but shrines to a world beyond Main Street. And then there were the things we thought were normal, but would seem alien today. The Iceman came every few days, hauling blocks of ice with tongs. You'd beg for a chip to suck on. That icebox in the kitchen? It was your refrigerator. And when you opened a soda, you needed a church key, a metal opener nailed by the door. That sharp crack of metal on glass meant reward was coming. No twist-off caps, no plastic. Just glass bottles with cream that rose to the top. Thick, golden, and fought over at breakfast. Toys didn't come from stores. They came from the junk drawer. Wooden clothespins became dolls, horses, fighter planes. A pound of coffee cost 21 cents, and it was brewed so strong you could float a horseshoe in it. Dad said mornings smelled like that pot bubbling on the stove. You didn't sip it. You braced yourself and chugged. And when someone brought home Tupperware for the first time, everyone stared like it had landed from space. That burp when the lid sealed. Pure magic. Mom called it a miracle. Dad said it was witchcraft. Kids played barefoot in alleys, scraped knees, got grass stained, and cried only if it really hurt. Recess wasn't a break. It was a battle. Jack's Red Rover kicked the can. You played until the bell rang too soon. And when you walked past a neighbor's window with a Victory Bond poster, you knew they were helping win the war, even if you didn't understand how. The milkman came early, glass bottles clinking on the porch. If it was winter, the cream might push out in a frozen curl. Cold, quiet, dependable, and then, the moment no one saw coming. A soldier shows up at the door, sunburnt, half smiling. Duffel bag slung over one shoulder. No warning, just a knock. And suddenly, supper is one plate short. You don't ask what he saw. You pour the coffee, hand him a clean towel, and thank him. Because you mean it. That's how it was. No therapy, no debriefings. Just silence and a family trying to pretend everything was normal again. Movie stars were royalty. Bogart, Bacall, Cary Grant. You clipped their photos, mimicked their lines, and swooned over headlines. They smiled, they smiled, they saved the world. At least in black and white. And when Howdy Doody aired in '48, half the block showed up at one house to watch. One neighbor had a Philco the size of a bread box. Someone stood on the roof yelling, "Hold it there," while fiddling with the antenna. And when that goofy puppet appeared, we laughed like it was magic. Maybe it was. But here's the thing. We've erased this world, not on purpose, but slowly. With every convenience we added, we lost a little of that grit, that connection, that quiet strength. We traded handwritten letters for texts, soda fountains for drive-thrus, and imagination for algorithms. And now, when a train whistle blows at night, most of us don't even notice. So ask yourself, were they poor? Or were we the ones who lost something priceless? Because in a world that never stopped moving, they found meaning in the smallest things. A nickel soda, a patch on a knee, a radio voice in the dark, and maybe, just maybe, we need that world more than we realize.